Genesis tells us that at first everything in the Garden of Eden was lovely. And the earth brought forth grass and herb, yielding seed after his kind, and the tree yielding fruit whose seed was in itself after his kind. And God saw that it was good. And the Lord God took the man and put him into the Garden of Eden to dress it and keep it. But such sweetness and light came before the serpent tempted Eve to eat of the forbidden fruit. And the Lord God said to the serpent, because thou hast done this, thou art cursed above all cattle and above every beast of the field. Upon thy belly thou shalt go, and dust thou shalt eat all the days of thy life. And I will put enmity between thee and the woman, and between thy seed and her seed. It shall bruise thy head, and thou shalt bruise his heel. Now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field. Man has always had a special relationship with snakes, part fascination, part fear. It started in the Garden of Eden. Some theologians say that the cursing of the serpent symbolizes the ultimate victory of God over Satan. Others that it represents sexual passion as a sin. The horror element is perpetuated in the Greek legend of Medusa. One look from her eyes turned the beholder to stone. The victim had good reason to be petrified. Her hair consisted of writhing snakes. The snake has enjoyed a mixed reputation. Aesculapius, the Roman god of healing, chose the snake as an emblem of medicine. It's featured on the badge of the Royal Army Medical Corps. Antony called Cleopatra the Serpent of Old Nile. She met her end by clasping an asp to her bosom. It was probably a small viper. St. Patrick is credited with banishing snakes from Ireland. But since there have never been any snakes in Ireland, the feat was more legendary than magical. The idea of giant snakes fascinated early explorers. They returned with tales of pythons 100 feet long, requiring a small army to subdue them. As travel became more widespread, snakes got cut down to size. The longest recorded snake is a python, 33 feet long. Perhaps the most persistent legend about snakes is the power of music to charm them. In fact, snakes have no ears, so they never hear the charmer's pipes. It's the movement of the instrument that fascinates them. Many snake charmers partly sew up the lips of their serpents, so the risk of being bitten is very slight. So much for the myths and legends concerning snakes. But what of the realities? This program might be described as more than you ever wanted to know about snakes and were too terrified to ask. There are at least 2,000 species of snakes in the world, less than 15% of which are venomous. What is certain is that deadly or harmless, snakes are marvelously designed, wonderfully diverse, and, yes, whether you like them or not, extremely beautiful. Snakes evolved from lizards about 130 million years ago. Evolutionarily speaking, snakes are latecomers in the reptile world. The monitor is the very personification of lizard power. It has all the things snakes lack: eyelids that can blink, external ears that hear very well, and of course, powerful legs. Some lizards seem to be caught halfway in this evolutionary process of losing legs. This blue-tongued skink from Australia has legs hardly big enough to carry its squat, heavy body. This burrowing skink behaves in an extremely snake-like way. There are several theories about how snakes evolved from lizards. The most popular is the burrowing theory. This says that early snakes were probably driven underground by competition. There, they didn't need eyes and became practically blind. They only emerged and developed the snake's unique eye when reptile competition slackened and small mammals were becoming available as prey. The burrowing skink gives a good idea of one stage in this evolutionary story. The British slow worm is even further down the road to snakedom. It doesn't have any legs at all, at least not external ones. Inside its body are the skeletal remnants of the legs it has shed. It's a lizard in every other sense, though its movements are entirely serpentine. The amphisbaenian, or worm lizard from Europe, doesn't have either external or internal legs. In 50 million years, its descendants may possibly become true snakes, though they will have to change more than their shape to do so. The ancients thought amphisbaenids were extremely poisonous, but they're as harmless as the worms they resemble. Not all snakes have rid themselves completely of all traces of limbs. The large constrictors have the remains of hind legs, which look like claws, as on this female python. Being legless is not as much of a disadvantage as it might seem. Snakes can reach the parts that other reptiles can't reach, even a snake as large as this 17-foot African python.
We will return to the natural world on the Discovery Channel.
Legends, secrets, tales, conquest, journeys.
Terra X, followed by Magical Worlds. Tuesdays, beginning at 9 Mountain, 8 Pacific, only on the Discovery Channel.
It's never too late for the good taste of Smuckers. Under 20 calories per teaspoon, and jams are naturally fat-free. A good way to end your day. With a name like Smuckers, it has to be good.
People you've been looking at all share a common belief that a car saved their lives.
Critics call it the new feel-good hit of the season. It's hot and pulsing. It's warm and misty. A must experience for the entire family. Introducing the new shower massage. If you only take one shower this year, this should be it.
Wow.
Organically grown herbs blended with natural ingredients. Ricola, natural herb cough drops from Switzerland.
The faces of discovery are the faces of the world. The Discovery Channel. Explore your world.
KABC Talk Radio, LA's most interesting talk station.
If something's happening in Los Angeles, I know I'm going to hear about it on KABC radio.
All I have to do is turn on KABC, and they'll be talking about it.
I always feel like I'm up to date when I'm listening to KABC. It tells me what's going on in my city, what's going on in the country, what's going around the world. KABC is real talk radio.
Talk is exciting. That's what you get on KABC. It's just more interesting.
KABC Talk Radio, LA's most interesting talk station.
With everything that's going on today, it's too important not to listen to KABC.
Hurt in a car or motorcycle accident? Call 1-800-THE-LAW-2 because they guarantee no cost until your case is won. Call 1-800-THE-LAW-2 to claim your rights to get your car repaired fast. Call 1-800-THE-LAW-2 to claim your rights to receive medical attention. Call 1-800-THE-LAW-2 to claim your rights to great monetary compensation for you and your passengers. Call the Legal Rights Defenders for a free consultation. Open 24 hours every day. 1-800-THE-LAW-2. It's all the law you need to know.
We now return to the natural world on the Discovery Channel.
Snakes possess up to 400 ribs. People often imagine that these move rather like a centipede's legs. The ribs can't move on their own. It's the powerful muscles around them that give the snake its fluent motive power. There's the remains of the leg, as in the pythons and boas, attached to the pelvic girdle. The bulge passing overhead is where a broken rib is mended. With so many ribs, a snake can afford to crack one or two. But without this magnificent rigid skeleton, the snake wouldn't be able to move with such graceful ease. There's much more to a snake's movement than a superb rippling of muscles. The belly scales are enlarged and can overlap so that they can grip like a tank's tracks. The combination of muscles and ribs enable even an immense snake to climb trees or descend almost vertically. As the python crosses the soft mud of a mangrove swamp, the movement of the belly muscles is perfectly displayed. For a demonstration of the gripping action of the belly scales, watch this puff adder moving across the leaf litter of an African woodland. The belly scales are smooth and flexible, the trailing edges protruding to grip the ground. Then there are the specialist movers, particularly the vipers and rattlesnakes who live in desert areas and have to cope with soft, sandy surfaces. For them, sidewinding is the name of the game. The sidewinder, or horned rattlesnake of North America, only touches the ground with 2 points of its body at any one moment. There's some disagreement among experts about which is the fastest snake. Many say the black mamba. Others favor an African species, the hissing sand snake, distinguished by the fact that it neither hisses nor lives in sandy places. It can certainly cover the ground and gives this professional snake catcher a good chase before it's finally caught. 4 miles per hour is probably the speed record for snakes. But if you've been chased by one, it undoubtedly seems much faster. If there are advantages to having a long, muscular, limbless body, there are snags as well. Eating is one of them. Snakes habitually swallow meals far bigger than their own heads. This African vine snake is about to tuck away a chameleon. It looks impossible, and would be if a snake couldn't disarticulate its jaw. There's a hinge called the quadrate bone in the lower jaw, which enables the mouth almost literally to fall apart, as this puff adder demonstrates. Like all snakes, the vine snake has no chewing teeth, just holding teeth to grip the food, while body muscles pull the chameleon towards its stomach. When it comes to catching live prey, there are no vegetarian snakes, by the way. That long muscular body provides the snake with two devastating forms of attack. The first, the ace, held by all venomous snakes like this puff adder, is the strike. Here it is, in extremely slowed up action. It is said that no one ever outdrew a snake, which is perhaps why Western gunfighters were often described as mean as rattlesnakes. At normal speed, this puff adder's strike occupies 1 frame of film. It lasts only 1/25th of a second. Many people are terrified by the snake's forked tongue, but it's quite harmless. It's used to smell its surroundings, sampling the air and savoring what it finds against pits in the roof of the mouth, called Jacobson's organs. Fangs are what do the damage, by injecting venom into the victim. There are basically 2 sorts of venom. Vipers and rattlesnakes use hemotoxins, which break down the blood vessels. Other species, like this green mamba, inject neurotoxins, which paralyze the nervous system. Cobras use neurotoxins too. All venoms are really only modified saliva. They have 2 purposes: to immobilize prey and to begin the digestive process inside the victim before the snake begins to swallow. There are various methods of delivering the venom, but they all consist of fangs. The boomslang is a back-fang snake with deadly venom. A human's chance of getting bitten is smaller with a snake whose fangs are at the rear of its mouth. This back-fang snake appears to have 4 fangs. It's quite common to find a second pair growing to replace the front ones when they break or wear out. The pits at the top are where the venom enters. On small prey, the strike of a back-fang snake is deadly. Next, a front fang snake with a very sophisticated design. Vipers and rattlesnakes are not only front-fanged, but the poison-injecting teeth fold back when not in use. The small teeth behind are simply for holding the prey. These fangs are hollow and deliver the venom to the tip like a hypodermic needle. The fangs in these species are exceptionally long. Any small mammal a rattlesnake strikes is unlikely to run far. The gaboon viper holds the record for length of fangs. They can measure 1 3/4 inches. The spitting cobras deliver their nerve poisons through the most specialized teeth of all. All cobras are front-fanged, and the fangs are fixed. But the spitting cobra has an interesting modification. The poison duct is totally enclosed, and there's a forward-facing hole at the front of each tooth. When the snake compresses its venom sacs, the fangs act like water pistols, squirting venom for up to 12 feet, usually at the eyes of the enemy. It's a defensive weapon. It's estimated that worldwide up to 40,000 people a year die of snakebite. Figures increase in the tropics as more land is farmed and workers are exposed to sleeping or slow-moving snakes, like the puff adder. In Britain, more people die from bee stings than from the bite of an adder, Britain's only poisonous snake. The second weapon that supple, coiled spring body gives to snakes belongs mainly to the Boidae, the family which includes pythons and boas. In other words, the non-poisonous constrictors. An African beaked snake is about to constrict a mouse. It's a popular belief that constrictors crush their prey. They don't. They suffocate it by making it impossible to breathe. Here's another attack. Python constricts rat. There's the disarticulating jaw in action. Snakes swallow their prey head first. It's easier that way. The python searches for the head in order to turn the rat before swallowing it. So much for the advantages of having a long, thin, muscular body. Now for the problems. The main one is that it makes you extremely vulnerable to enemies, unless, of course, you become invisible. The adder does that by perfectly matching its surroundings, especially dead bracken. Can you spot the snake in the dappled shade of this African forest? Just as well if you can. The puff adder's venom is one of the most potent hemotoxins. If you're lucky, it will move off at the vibration of your footsteps. Most snakes do. Its camouflage hides it not only from enemies, but from the prey for which it is lying in wait. This disappearing act is performed by what is possibly Africa's deadliest snake, the Gaboon viper. Now you know what it is, and possibly where it is. Watch that dead gray leaf in the center of the picture. The Gaboon viper is fairly reluctant to move if it doesn't have to, so it pays to watch where you are putting your feet. If you're an arboreal snake, you naturally spend a good deal of your time in trees. To catch and to avoid being caught, the obvious tactic is to look like part of a tree. The green mamba is extremely good at this. A few snakes can feign death to fool enemies. It's very unusual to find a grass snake doing this. Their normal defense is to emit a foul-smelling fluid from glands near the tail. The grass snake only comes alive when it thinks danger is past. Then there are species that warn off intruders by making a menacing noise. Fans of westerns don't need to be told what snake is making that sound. Each time a rattlesnake sheds its skin, the last scale fails to come away, adding itself to the rattle. The scales fit loosely inside each other and act like castanets when vibrated. It's a warning to possible enemies to stay clear. The rattler would far rather avoid trouble, and if it comes to that, it doesn't want to waste venom it could use getting itself a meal. There's a harmless species that has learned that it pays to impersonate a rattler. The gopher snake not only looks like a rattler, but gives a very good imitation of a rattle by hissing. It can also vibrate its tail against vegetation to strengthen the impression. American coral snakes are deadly. There's a helpful little rhyme. Red and yellow, kill a fellow. Red and black, venom lack. Well, this is red band next to yellow, and the coral snake which owns this color combination can very well kill a fellow. Look quickly as if your life depends on it and decide whether these colors say kill a fellow or venom lack. Correct. Red next to black. It's the non-poisonous scarlet king snake. There's an obvious advantage to the king snake in impersonating its more deadly neighbor. Possible enemies are likely to avoid it. Most king snakes, this is the Mexican species, have these red and black bands, though in different proportions. King snakes specialize in catching and eating other snakes, so to be mistaken for a coral snake by the victim is a useful weapon. The Californian king snake lacks the red bands entirely, but its striped pattern is still confusing to its prey, which includes rattlers. King snakes often get bitten in their battles to subdue rattlesnakes in order to eat them. They seem to ignore bites and are resistant to venom that could kill a man at least 3,000 times their body weight. The spitting cobra has two defense mechanisms. It can enlarge its neck by expanding the so-called hood. It's done by movements of the elongated neck ribs unique to cobras. It can also spit venom, invariably at the eyes of an enemy. It's the same venom it injects with its bite. The venom can blind, at least temporarily, and if not washed out of the human eye, it's extremely painful. In opening its mouth, the cobra reveals a feature common to all snakes, a protruding glottis. This tube-like device enables the snake to breathe, even when it's swallowing large prey. Despite all these defense measures, and for all their speed and deadliness, many snakes fall victim to predators.
We will return to the natural world on the Discovery Channel. Cobra, the Snake God, next on Discovery Sunday.
Dean Witter believed in listening.
Listen, not only to what our clients say, but what they mean. Each client has a level of comfort. Endeavor to find it. We measure success one investor at a time.
Most of the Earth's surface is covered by water, which means most of the Earth is covered by Princess. No cruise line sails more ships to more ports of call worldwide than Princess, because it's more than a cruise. It's the love boat.
The Tahitian Islands welcomed over 100,000 vacationers last year. Not one of them, however, was a Lexus engineer. Why? Let's just say they were busy. The 1994 Lexus ES, improved, revised, refined, in a word, new.
I really like Rice Krispie treats. You can make them. They're really easy. I watch my mom. Yeah? First you melt some marshmallow and margarine. Then you pour in the Kellogg's Rice Krispies. Then you come out of the kitchen and put your hand like this and say, "It's finally done." No, it was all the hard work. Then you could take it out to dinner.
Kellogg's Rice Krispies treats. So good, so easy.
What do dogs respond to? The taste of meat. Iams knows meat protein makes dogs look and feel healthy. It's so important for eyes, muscle tone, skin and coat, and energy. That's why there's more chicken-based protein in Iams than the leading dry dog food. So feed your dog the taste he loves. Iams, and he'll thank you in so many ways. Because quality protein matters, insist on Iams.
Taking a camera into a whale's world.
The whale suddenly turned towards Tony and rammed him.
Recapturing the first moments of flight. Filming an angry shark face to face.
The great excitement of coming through it unscathed.
Now you can go behind the scenes of the Discovery Channel with the exclusive video, Secrets of Discovery. How do you get it? It's free, only when you subscribe to Destination Discovery, the award-winning monthly magazine and program guide that heightens your viewing. Intriguing articles that cover your world, from whales, wheels, and wings, to faraway, fascinating places. There's no better guide for planning what you want to watch on the Discovery Channel. Call 1-800-832-8343 now and get 12 issues of Destination Discovery for $19.97. That's 1/3 off the cover price, and the home video is yours free. Call now, 1-800-832-8343.
We now return to the natural world on the Discovery Channel.
Snakes have enemies in almost every branch of the animal kingdom, and not least among them are giant lizards, their closest relatives. This African monitor lizard knows that termite mounds can provide a widely varied menu. They shelter so many different edible creatures. The pygmy mongooses who live inside the mounds are too small to kill all but the smallest snakes and lizards, and certainly not the snake the monitor finds there, a spitting cobra. The monitor is too big to be intimidated by the raised hood, and for once the cobra doesn't seem to spit. But it does bite and hangs on, pumping a good dose of venom. Some of the poison must have penetrated the monitor's tough skin, but it's highly likely that the big lizard has a degree of immunity to snake venom. Many habitual snake killers have this, but it's very unlikely that any snake eater possesses the total immunity some people claim. Several birds of prey are specialized snake hunters. The secretary bird that stalks the African savanna, holding down snakes with its powerful feet, is one of the most successful. So is the short-toed eagle found in southern Europe. The eagle, it's a young one, swoops on a ladder snake. The technique is to hold the snake down with its talons while attacking the serpent's head with its beak. It's too inexperienced to know how to kill the snake quickly. Whatever the snake's natural enemies, there is no doubt that the serpent's #1 predator has been, and probably always will be, man. In some ways, it's understandable. Poisonous snakes are a menace. They do claim lives. Ever since the Garden of Eden, they have, sadly for themselves, represented evil and sin. This makes man feel justified in persecuting them beyond the reasonable bounds of self-protection. What you are watching is a rattlesnake roundup in the southern United States. The first of such roundups may have been necessary to clean up areas around schools and homes. Now they're sponsored by the local chambers of commerce as a commercial event. It's not unheard of for 13,000 rattlesnakes to be brought in from one district alone. Many have been caught not just in the 2-day roundup, but all through the year and saved up for this appalling circus.
That's right. They wasn't one of them. Yeah, you're right.
Whether you personally like snakes or not, whether you fear them or hate them, is really immaterial when you see what happens to them here. They're beheaded to provide meat, skins, and a sort of macabre entertainment. Even the extraction of venom serves no useful purpose. It's not done under laboratory conditions. Afterwards, the snake will provide skins for souvenirs. In Genesis, God cursed the snake. But this perhaps is going too far. Understandably, it is always the violent side of the snake's life that is emphasized. Snakes perhaps spend less time killing than any other predators, if only because a meal swallowed whole usually lasts a long time. It is the day-to-day life of the snake that is so fascinating. Snakes are cold-blooded. They take on the temperature of their surroundings, so they can't afford to become too hot or too cold. These prairie rattlers are soaking up the last of the autumn sun before going into hibernation for winter. The dens they use are often traditional ones, perhaps a cave. Rattlesnakes from miles around migrate to these places before winter sets in. The scene inside such a den has a sinister quality few horror movies can match. The returning warmth of spring reverses the process. This writhing mass of garter snakes has just gotten the message that spring is here. One of the first things a snake does upon emerging from hibernation is to slough or shed its skin. A sign that this is about to happen is that the eye covering goes opaque. A snake sloughs several times a year, either to accommodate its growing body or because the old skin is wearing out. The slough starts at the head. The skin splits at the upper lip, and the transparent eye covering, which is itself a modified scale, comes away. The head emerges first, bright and shiny and new. The discarded helmet of skin, including the shed goggles, lies alongside. Now to get rid of the rest. It's something like pulling off a nylon stocking. Whatever Adam and Eve may have learned from the serpent in the Garden of Eden, the betting is that snakes knew it all millions of years before man came on the scene. This is the so-called adder dance, often associated with courtship. In a way, that's true, but it's not a dance. It's a ritualized combat, and it's between two males. What they are really doing is establishing who is dominant. There's certainly a female nearby. Like most animals who have the power to damage each other seriously, they never lay a fang on each other. At the end of the contest, the stronger will clearly have established his right to mate with the female. The victor will be left holding the field. The winner moves off to claim the female. She is less vividly marked than the male. She's much bigger, and with good reason. She'll carry up to 10 little adders inside her body. Adders are among the comparatively few species which give birth to live young. Most snakes lay eggs. Reptiles were egg-laying long before birds thought of it. Birds inherited the technique from their early reptile ancestors. There are big differences in the way snakes and birds go about the final stages of reproduction. To begin with, very few snakes show any parental care for their offspring. This grass snake has found a warm, moist compost heap in which to lay her eggs. Once she's laid them, she'll take no further interest in her young. In adverse weather conditions, snakes sometimes give their offspring a good start in life. The embryo is well developed inside the egg, long before she lays it. There's never an embryo inside a newly laid bird's egg. Another difference is that snakes' eggs are soft to the touch. They don't need a hard shell to support the weight of a brooding adult. She'll lay between 20 and 40 eggs, and having laid them, she'll leave them. This amazing film shows what goes on inside those eggs during the 6 weeks of incubation. 5 days after laying, the coils of the baby snake's body are clearly visible. The eye is already well developed. The heart beats strongly. At 6 days, the head of the little grass snake is taking shape. There's another very big difference between a snake's and a bird's egg. A chick is attached to its yolk and develops outside it. The snake grows inside the yolk, making the problems of filming its growth far more intricate. This is the head, 2 weeks after the egg was laid. 3 weeks now, and looking more snake-like every day. At 5 weeks, the body, glimpsed through the opening in the yolk, has acquired scales. Another feature common to bird and snake embryos. In the upper jaw, there's an egg tooth with which the young can tear their way out of the shell. Six weeks and nearly ready to hatch. The eye is opaque because one of the first things the little snake will do upon emerging is to slough its skin. The big moment has at last arrived. The flicking tongue gives the infant snake its first smell of the outside world. It's August when they emerge. Autumn and hibernation are only 2 months away. Before then, they must double their body weight and put on fat to withstand the cold. Those that fail to find enough food will probably perish.
We will return to the natural world on the Discovery Channel. Cobra, the Snake God, next on Discovery Sunday.
Critics call it the new feel-good hit of the season. It's hot and pulsing. It's warm and misty. A must experience for the entire family. Introducing the new shower massage. If you only take one shower this year, this should be it.
Crystal clear waters of the Cayman Islands, we knew we'd be coming back.
The Cayman Islands.
First there were the stairs, then the articles, then the waiting lists, the fan mail, the owners' clubs, and the worldwide following, the likes of which few cars have ever known. On November 15th, it starts all over again.
It seems Europeans have a passion for certain things American. And one of them happens to be the reliable, efficient delivery of a certain American delivery company, UPS. Fact is, we've built the most comprehensive delivery network in Europe. So next time you need something shipped there, use the outfit Europeans find, well, so fashionable. UPS, the package delivery company more companies count on.
Never in history has one singular part of our planet been the scene of such an evolutionary explosion. Don't miss the Great Rift. Tuesday at 11 Mountain, 10 Pacific, only on the Discovery Channel.
Cablevision Industries gives you a world of entertainment. CBI is interested in hiring qualified people for positions in our direct sales department. We need door-to-door salespeople to generate new customers and remarket existing services. As an employee of CBI, you can enjoy a substantial benefits package, advancements, security, and unlimited earnings and commissions. Call 407-4420 for more information.
Do you know how much your home is worth? The real estate market has changed, and you could be paying too much property tax on a home whose value has decreased. Citywide appraisers can reappraise your home now and provide you with a new state-certified and bank-approved appraisal you can use to lower your property taxes or other important purposes. Call Citywide Appraisers now and you'll get $50 off your appraisal fee. Call Citywide Appraisers. It's like money in the bank.
We now return to the natural world on the Discovery Channel.
To find their prey, pit vipers and rattlesnakes have perfected a high-tech method. Between nostrils and eyes are two deep pits. These are infrared heat receptors. They're so sensitive they can detect differences of a fraction of a degree. They can signal the body heat of a mouse at several yards in total darkness, or when the mouse has disappeared down a hole. We can only give an impression of the message those heat detectors receive by following the mouse with an infrared camera. Heat pits are zeroed in on the target. The forked tongue helps to confirm direction and range by sense of smell. The infrared camera breaks the image down into colors. The snake, of course, wouldn't see it like this, but its receptors are so acute they would certainly detect the different degrees of body heat in the mouse. The hottest parts are yellow, the next hottest, red, pink, and so on to the cooler blues and greens. When the snake gets close to its hidden prey, the hot spots fill, as it were, the rattler's cockpit display. All it has to do is press the firing button. The mouse bounds off, but the venom will ensure that it doesn't get far. Sense of smell will be sufficient now to help the snake find its meal. Already the venom will be starting to perform its second function, partly digesting the mouse even before the rattler swallows it. It isn't often realized how good practically all snakes are in the water. The common grass snake is wonderfully adapted to aquatic hunting. All snakes can swim, and many can stay submerged for half an hour at a time. Small fish and frogs are high on a grass snake's menu. This snake took its minnows in a grab so swift that they disappeared instantly, even though it had to turn them head first before swallowing. This was a very hungry snake. Having gobbled several minnows, it surfaced and caught a large frog as the main course. For the ultimate in freshwater snakes, you must go to the Amazon basin. There, the explorer, Colonel Fawcett, claims to have seen an anaconda 60 feet long. This anaconda is a mere 12 feet in length. It's the body width that is so intimidating. The anaconda is a giant constrictor that probably doesn't exceed 30 feet in the wild. Even a snake 12 feet long is capable of constricting and eating a 4-foot caiman. An anaconda usually attacks in the water or at the water's edge. It's a huge meal, but the snake will eventually manage it. Large snakes have been known to swallow prey equal to their own body weight. After such a banquet, the anaconda might not have to eat for months. Snakes have exploited most of the world's tropical or temperate habitats, including the warm seas. Sea snakes are one of the most extreme examples of adaptation. They're related to the cobras, and they're found in most tropical waters, but not the Atlantic. Their venom is one of the most lethal of all. They've adapted their body shape entirely to the marine environment. They've developed small heads for exploring rock and coral crevices, for small eels and reef fishes. Their tails have become flattened to act like a paddle when swimming. The flattened tip also provides resistance, preventing the snake from moving backwards when it strikes. Sea snakes can stay submerged for an hour. Their nostrils are closed by watertight valves, but eventually they have to come to the surface for air. Most sea snakes, and there are over 50 species, are totally independent of the land, mating and bearing up to half a dozen live young in the ocean, so that they are completely safe from land predators. Courtship and mating rituals are very similar to those of terrestrial snakes. A male swims in consort with a female over a bed of white coral sand. There's no effective antivenom for the sea snake's deadly neurotoxins. Very few people get fatally bitten. The snake's mouth and fangs are too small, and in the water, sea snakes are not aggressive. The trouble with a bite is that the venom is very slow acting. By the time the symptoms appear, it's usually too late. Experienced divers like Ron and Valerie Taylor, the Australian underwater camera team, have no qualms about handling sea snakes. Valerie Taylor is holding an extremely large olive sea snake. It's not a practice recommended for the amateur diver, even when wearing a wetsuit and gloves. Nevertheless, it demonstrates the docile nature of this utterly lethal snake. It's never been known to attack a diver, though it sometimes approaches, apparently out of curiosity. A modern version, perhaps, of Eve tempted by the serpent. In telling the story of the fall, the book of Genesis made the snake a symbol of evil for all time. And the Lord God said to the serpent, "Because thou hast done this, thou art cursed above all cattle and above every beast of the field. Upon thy belly thou shalt go." The snake has made excellent use of this manner of locomotion, and has adapted it quite well to its purpose. But then, as the good book says, the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field.
Coming up next, tribal people honor the power of the snake on Cobra, the Snake God, followed by the Crested Serpent on Discovery Sunday, only on the Discovery Channel. Explore your world.
You'll find 586,000 square miles of untamed wilderness, 17 of the tallest peaks in the U.S., 427 species of birds, and more than 100,000 glaciers. But you'll find there's just one way to experience it, Princess. Because there's no place on Earth like Alaska and no cruise line like Princess. It's more than a cruise, it's the Love Boats.
They can't speak, but still, they can tell us a lot. At Lexus, we're using advanced crash dummies equipped with a dozen computerized sensors, all to learn more about what happens in an accident. We're rather proud of our dummies. The better the dummy, the better the car.
Love her, hold her, and remember our simple formula. At Dean Witter,
we measure success one investor at a time.
Cobra, the Snake God, next on Discovery Sunday.
I don't believe it. I'm Susan Powell. I hope we'll see you again tomorrow. Now, let's eat.